What is going on, guys? We're back again with another video. Last game we just finished up playing was abzu. Once again, I'm going to link my friend Fasapo down there. Jacob, thank you again for recommending that game. Really great game overall, and definitely worth it. It was a gift he gave to me quite a while ago now, but definitely a game I recommend anyone to check out personally. So we're going to get right on into this today. We're going to go and grab these photographs right down here. Let them load right on into Lightroom here. And I think we can just import these right away. Let's go. Let's go right into development of this. We're going to go into full widescreen for you guys. This is the first photograph I took. Nice simple composition just to get things rolling. I don't mind this at all. I think this actually just helps display what the game itself looks like. Let's go right ahead and put a quick little overlay on it, or where do we want to call these? They have so many different names now. But let's go ahead, throw on the cool light. Cool light works really well in this game. We're going to add a bit of contrast to bring down the highlights just a bit. This game is very highlight sensitive. Bring down the whites itself, and we're going to bring in a bit of clarity. Now, games themselves apparently can use a ton of clarity and pull out just more of the image. Don't ask me why, I'm not too sure. Let's bring in a little bit of dehaze, and we're going to go right down here, and we're just going to sharpen, clean it all up. This game has just kind of one focal point. It slightly adjusts here and there, but the main focus is on the main character, or whichever creature is focused on. We're going to add a little bit of a yellow hue to it, and I think just bring the contrast down slightly to create a dramatic effect. Look at that. I'm going to say contrast when I meant exposure. Sorry, I'm wiped out and tired. Let's go right into the second photograph. This is a nice little one. I always like these meditation tools that you can use. Always helps out. Let's go around over here though. Let's see if we can do a copy and paste. I feel like it's going to go quite well, considering it's in the same area. Oof, and it is not. And this happens. If anything, I need to bump up the exposure right away. We need to take back that clarity down. We're going to put a little more dehaze, put some texture in there. Dehaze a wee bit more, right about there, without losing the full image. We're going to add a little bit more yellow. Try not to go crazy with it. Maybe a hint on the magenta side. I can see that some of the colors are pulling out weirdly. This game is very much color focused and visual focused. We can add a little bit more detail in by smoothing it out and making it look better. Let's bring in a hair black just to make sure we have that extreme shadowing going on still. And look at that. That photograph right there is much better and great strong composition. What a beautiful game to really be able to capture all this. Honestly, definitely worth checking it out. I'll leave a description down below. Well, a link in the description down below for everyone. Let's take a quick look at this photograph. I'm not a big fan that the borders are here. I'm probably not going to pursue this one. That sucks. I feel like it could have had much better composition without all this. Let's go into the next one, see if I got something at least better with the borders. This one's not bad. The powder blue tang, these are really cool saltwater creatures. I think I have a much better photograph of this one right here. I think I have one, without the borders again. Look at that little dude swimming around. Let's go ahead and paste our overlay that we just created for it. That's looking pretty awesome. I want to actually pull out the shadows a bit more to create more of a depth down here and more that you can see into. You can even see there's like bubbles and stuff into the texture of the photograph. I actually don't mind that it actually labels it. I am a fish guy. Being being in saltwater fish, it's really cool that you can actually have a description of it. Now the only thing I'm going to do is probably bring a little bit more blue in just to make sure that the tang itself doesn't lose its natural hue color. And I think that is all she wrote on this one. I think we have a nice little postal shot right here. Let's take a look at the second one just to make sure. I think that was a stronger image. Yep. See right here how the fish are coming down on this one? Versus here we just have the dolphins. I think the fish in this one makes a little bit better of an image. Not something, you can keep your main focus on the main piece right here of the guy meditating. Let's go right ahead and put in that overlay that we got, or preset, whichever you want to call it. This one's a bit on the dark side. Let's go right ahead and just add a bit more exposure right on into it. Let's pull out the shadows, really brighten this image up. Let's bring down the clarity a bit and bring in a good dehaze. Keeping that true aspect of the game to it. I think just bumping up a little bit more right there will help out. Let's just add a little bit more black into the shadowing areas. And I think that is definitely worth the photograph. Maybe a hint more blue this time. Look at that. Wow. I'm loving this. This is such a great way to do photography, especially for those who are either on budgets or anything. If you have a PC already, you can just log right into your favorite game and start practicing this stuff. Once again, if it doesn't have a camera mode though, you are going to have to work with screenshots, which don't have the most data, sadly. Sometimes in the camera modes, I notice that they have more data than some others. And that's just kind of the way it's going to be with games and stuff in general. I think as time goes on, we'll definitely see more camera modes put into video games. But let's go right into the next photograph and start editing. This is a cool one, nice and colorful. This one I am going to edit fully by hand. We're just going to start off a little bit of contrast. Let's get some more of that blue in there, like the game normally is. Bring a little bit more clarity, bring in a bit of a dehaze. Now you're seeing we're getting an interesting little hue effect that's actually due to the highlights. Let's bring that on down. Let's bring the whites a little bit on down. Let's pull out the shadows and bring a little bit of black. Awesome. Let's bring down the vibrance just a little bit. And let's bring this guy into effect. Now, I'm really liking this. Let's see if we can't put some type of overlay or preset onto it right away. And not too many of these are really speaking out to me, honestly. And that happens. That's just a natural fact of it. Sometimes it's better to just edit by hand. And there's nothing wrong with that. It takes a little bit more time, but it definitely gives a much better composition sometimes. And plus, anytime you put a preset on it, you should still adjust your photographs. This is such a cool way of doing things. I am going to bring a small crop in. Just want to lose a little bit out here. And voila. That is a really neat little photograph right there. I am in love with this. The color is such a cool color. I think, one thing that's being lost these days is that a lot of people are converting back to black and white photographs. We're losing a lot of nice, vibrant photographs or out of the ordinary photographs. I think using a game like this and video game photography overall might help bring that back a bit. Let's go right ahead into the next photograph though. This is a cool little scene in the game. You see your main character, and you see his next area that he's going into. Let's go right ahead. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, we can use the cool light, and this already just makes the image looks a much better. Let's go right in, add a little bit more contrast, add a little more depth to it, pull out the shadowing on it. We're going to go in and add a little more black, and we're going to pull the whites right about there. Don't want to go too crazy. I think we'll bring the highlight down just a hair. Let's bring up that clarity because video game logic makes sense apparently. And let's bring in a bit of that dehaze, just really shadow the image. We're going to bring up the exposure on this to make it really look nice and clean. We're going to go ahead and adjust the crop slightly on this guy. I think we're going to leave it right about there. This is just such a cool little photograph. Look at this thing. Let's go right ahead, add a little bit more yellow. And that's going to tone this out a bit more. I think we can add a little bit more color into it like this, and keeping it somewhat more to its natural state. And honestly, I think that is all she wrote for this photo. Let me know what you guys think of this one down below. It's kind of on the simpler side, but I absolutely love how it came out. Now, I did experiment over here by doing another self-portrait. He was throwing an orb into an orb. Let's see what this can turn into. But first things first, let's copy this guy on over because this really brought out a great image. I think being in the same lighting and setting, this will help out the composition. And I was wrong right away. Let's go right back into it. I am going to stick with the cool light setup. I think that does work the best. We're going to bring a bit of contrast, and we're actually going to make this kind of a darker image, I think. We're going to keep a little bit of that border right in there that you can see. Bring in the dehaze, clean it up a bit. Let's get that clarity going. Make it stand out as its own, definitely as an individual piece. Bring up the exposure just a hair. We're starting to get a little bit of a ripple effect here. This does seem to happen with video games being pixelated and how they're rendered and set up. So what we're going to do is actually bring in the black. And I think we're going to leave it right about here. Let's bring down the highlight quite a bit. We're going to bring up the exposure one last time. And we are going to deal with that. I think it kind of does add to the image though in what we're doing. So I don't mind leaving it there. No, we're just going to leave you neutral. I think that is going to be where we're going to have her. Right about here. Or if anything, we'll just bring up the exposure a hint. Alright. I think that's how we're going to leave this one. This is kind of a cool photograph. Definitely more on the artistic side. Not so much the realistic side of how the game was. I kind of vibe with it though. Not often do I do artistic side of things with my photographs. Most of my photographs I do professionally are more realistic or hyper realistic. Doing car photography and models and stuff like that, a lot of the stuff I shoot needs to be very realistic standpoint so people can see their cars and their natural beauty and light. It's one of those weird things. It's almost like shooting candids but adding a spice to it. Here's the next photograph. It seems we cut off part of this up here. So let's see if we have this one where it's not cut off. We do not, sadly. So because that is cut off up there, what we're going to do is we're actually going to play around with the dolphin one. I think that creates a much better image. Let's put that overlay back on it, which already took care of quite a bit of this image. We're going to get rid of some of the magentas in there. We're actually going to keep it a bit on the greener side. We're just going to create this beautiful teal going up and down on here. Let's bring this on down. Keep it more toned and neutralized. And I think we're actually going to bring up the highlight this time. Make it as a beautiful, beautiful standalone piece. And for this image, we're going to run a little bit darker, bring in the clarity just a bit more. Actually, you know what? Video game logic, max it out, have fun with it, go crazy apparently. I'm loving that photograph. This is looking epic. Let me know what you guys think of this one down below. This one's definitely a lot different than usual, but I think it definitely has a great, compelling aspect to it. Here's the series of shots that we started taking. I think we're going to use, as the orcas go up, let's see. This guy is beautiful. I think I kind of like this where the orcas are just swimming around. Let's see if I got a better one of them swimming. I think that is going to be the one she wrote right there, guys. Let's go ahead just for fun. Let's see if this works. It definitely does not work, but I think if I bring the exposure down, ironically, it works a lot better. And look at that. The amount of detail in this photograph is absolutely nuts. Let's go right ahead and add a little bit more with the clarity. Add a little bit of a dehaze to create a better shadow effect on it. Put a little bit of texture in there and look at that. That's looking like a hyper realistic photo. It almost looks real on this one. That's wild. I might post this on its own and see if people thinking like my Facebook and stuff that this is real. Oh, I love that the blue comes out nicely with it too, especially accenting the colors like this. This photograph is just absolutely stunning. Wow. Let's go right ahead and sharpen her up, clean her up, and everything with video game logic. Apparently in Lightroom, it tends to like adding all these individual aspects of it. So that being said, let me know what you guys think. I think this is a phenomenal photograph. Almost kind of wish we could end on this one. Should have thought about that a bit better. Let's go on into the next one though. This one I know is definitely going to be a bit of a trial and error photograph that I took. I don't mind this. I don't mind this. That little guy just kept getting in my way though. And I think that's the photo I was definitely looking for. I was originally playing around with this, trying to get some photographs here of the fish up above. as we can tell, that it's not the greatest image, as most of the guys cut off, and as a self-portrait, it would probably be better to do something like this. Showing off the meditation and showing off the individual pieces is kind of a much better image. It's much simpler, more laid back, and absolutely looks beautiful. I really love how this came out. And we're actually going to start off with the sharpening and noise reduction here. I think that's going to help make the photograph look a lot better. Let's bring in the clarity right away too, and bring in the dehaze. Also, bumping up that contrast is going to make it look perfect. We're going to bring a little bit of this in, get a little bit of magenta in there. Let's bring up the exposure, bring down the highlights, bring in the shadows. Let's see if we can put a small preset. Let's do the cool light one more time. I think it just really looks well. It brings out more of the colors. And we'll play around here. If a softer contrast, nah. Deeper contrast definitely looks better, but we don't want to get that growiness on the shark pedestal right here, or the meditation area. Let's go in though. Let's get a little more clarity in there. Bring in a dehaze, and this is looking beautiful. I'm absolutely loving how this game does visuals. It's always stunning to me, the differences that people can get out of this stuff. Absolutely amazing. I think this is where we're going to call it as a done photograph. Let me know what you guys think of this. I think this is a great little standalone image. Actually, before we go, let's do a quick spot cleanup. Now, this game uses bubbles and stuff that sometimes just look like spots from a distance. I think for these photograph purposes, it's kind of best to get rid of them. It's really easy in Lightroom to just clear them up like this. It gets rid of them right away. That's looking much better. Bam. Look at that. Oh, we missed a small cluster over here. Let's go ahead and get rid of the last of them right here. Last of the big ones that you can see right away. It might just be fish or something in the background. It does happen in this game. It's something just keep an eye out for when you're editing your photographs. And that's much better. These ones are close enough. You can tell that it's bubbles and CO2 or nitrate, whichever you want to really call it. I'm not sure what they use for the game to create this kind of bubbles. It is a natural process in the ocean that creates oxygen for the fish underneath, as well feeding these rays underneath is infrared lighting and different red lights that actually get captured in the water that helps feed corals and gives fish light. Let me know what you guys think of this photograph though. I think this is once again another really great standalone piece. Absolutely something that's beautiful and stunning to see. We have 2 more photographs to go over. This is a cool little piece on its own. I could see it as, just using it to show off the pilot fish. But I think in general, if we go right over here, this is a better image for the pilot fish. You see the fish, mouth is wide open, you see the guy meditating, and you see more of the game. Overall, I think this would be better for the game purposes, especially including these borders here. I think it will definitely make it look much more compelling as an image. And that's kind of why I shot it with it kind of like this. We're going to go right away, and we're going to do a desaturated contrast. Look at that. Let's bring in the clarity, start bringing out more of the detail of the game again, bring in a little bit of a dehaze. We're going to up the exposure. We're going to bring a little bit. See, my friend Logan's up. Let's see here. I guess we're going to just leave it like that for now. Logan, I'll message you in a bit. We're going to pull out a little bit more of the shadows, kind of give it a nice hazy effect. The big image, of course, is the fish with all this in the background. It's just absolutely beautiful. Ironically, I was talking with somebody who's more of a professional than I am, and him and I are talking about doing some work together coming up next year. It's really cool for me to have this opportunity to work with someone like this because I haven't had a mentor or an internship yet in college, so I'm quite hyped about the fact that this guy is doing all this extra work with me on, photography and filmmaking. I'll talk to him if I can. I'll link his stuff down below. One of the biggest things he said that I needed to practice was actually practicing images in the background as individual. He said my great aspect is capturing things in the front, but I need to definitely practice capturing things in the back. And ironically, I think video game photography is starting to make me see that more and more. I have more stuff I can play with that allows me to control the back and allows me to really focus on the back aspects of photography. Alright, so next what we're going to do is we're going to bring the highlight down just a hair. And we're going to bring the white down, I think, just a hair. I want it to be a dramatic, deep shot. I think something like this is really where we're going to leave it. I don't usually like leaving photographs this dark, especially since the shadowing of the fish could use a bit of hair. Maybe something like that at most. But this photograph, I think, is done and ready to go. I really like how the bubbles are playing, once again, a nice effect with the CO2 look. And this is really cool, seeing the sharks and everything in the background, as well you can see the pilot fish right away. I think overall this is something that people in general will like and game developers would love to see. Let me know down below though what you guys think, and I'll be tagging the game developers of abzu into this photograph to see what they think. I hope they reach out and we can get more feedback from the people who created the game. The guy who actually created the game, I know, is a diver himself. Dude, if for whatever reason you're able to reach out to me, come reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about your diving adventures. I'm looking at doing it professionally just to get into more photography work and get into more like underwater photography itself. But without further ado, my guys, enjoy this little sequence of the ending photograph, some music overlay. I hope you guys really enjoy these. They're really fun to make, and it's actually a really different aspect for me to see photography. So I think it's something that you guys are going to enjoy a lot more. But if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more content as well. This is done, of course, for homework related, but if you guys do like it, I'll produce it after the semester's over. And I own all this equipment that I'm recording and shooting on, so there could possibly be way more content in the future coming up. And Fosapo, once again, your stuff is linked down there. Go check out his channel, guys. You just enjoy all aspects. But enjoy this overlay. Enjoy some funky music I made. And see you in the next video.